When you play the Game of Thrones,
Subscribe and like.
you die. There is no middle ground.
Welcome back to the Grease Goblins YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to do something very similar. I talked about why you were wrong about Catelyn Tully. Now we're going to talk about Tywin Lannister and why you might be wrong about him. Now for me, I think when I started getting into this community, really praised Tywin of being this great politician, this great military commander, and I've kind of come to an opposite opinion. I really don't think he's a great, especially military commander. Now, I want a preference. I think Tywin is a great peacetime ruler. He has great experience in terms of being Hand of the King for Aerys. He was really good in that position. But I want to look at him as a military commander, him as a father, his biggest downfall. All of the things that I think make Tywin not as incredible as he is, and why a lot of it is more or less just projecting. So let's get into it. Let's start with where the main story begins. Because again, I think that up until the main story, we don't see him really tested. In terms of his military prowess, the sack of King's Landing was just that. It was a sack. I mean, it doesn't happen unless Pycelle gets Aerys to open the gates. So for me, I think the biggest downfalls of Tywin is, one, the way he treats his children. He has obvious favoritism. He hates on Tyrion. He's not able to see that his children are having sex basically behind his back. He's not able to even see those signs. And then even when the rumors start, it's still unclear if he actually believes them. I personally take the route that he doesn't believe these rumors. He does believe that Jaime and Cersei are not having sex, and this is something that's been prompted by their political opponents. But that doesn't really matter all that much. He let it get to that point. And yes, Jaime and Cersei were in different places, and then eventually they end up together in King's Landing, and Tywin's, in the west, ruling Casterly Rock. He's not necessarily there the whole time, but come on. Of all the people he should put this together, he's their father. And then also the way he treats Tyrion, of course, is horrible, damaging his son, psychologically, and that all comes back to bite him. But when we get to the War of the Five Kings, let's look at Tywin and his actions and why he gets very lucky. It doesn't have a lot to do with his own strategy, his own actions. He's kind of like the opposite of Robb Stark, where Robb Stark makes a lot of great military decisions and then makes some not so great decisions. He has some bad luck. Tywin has the opposite. Tywin, in my opinion, makes very little good decisions during the War of the Five Kings, but gets extremely lucky. So let's take a look at the way the War of the Five Kings goes down. So Tywin is raiding, and he's kind of taking over the Riverlands, which isn't surprising. He has overwhelming numbers, and they just kind of easily walk through the Riverlands. But this is where things kind of change. Tywin does not take Robb Stark as a serious threat. That allows Robb to trick him. Robb then goes on, takes out Jaime's forces, which a lot bigger forces, and Jaime is captured by Robb. And even in the Battle of the Green Fork, during that chapter, Tyrion specifically thinks, why did the Northmen just kind of line up and then let the Lannisters line up? It makes no sense. If Roose Bolton if there was any other commander different than Roose Bolton, like say it was more of an aggressive leader, like maybe the Great John, for instance, the Starks could have definitely won the Battle of the Green Fork. It's because they allow the Lannisters to get in all their defensive positions that allows them to win. Now, we know Roose Bolton's kind of was going in on this we're not winning this victory. It's just to feint an attack to let Robb win in the West. He also did not want to lose many of his own forces. He wanted to get rid of a lot of the other Northern House's powers, but not his own. So the Battle of the Green Fork could have easily gone the other way. That's what I'm trying to say. The Stark forces were able to get all the way up to the Lannister camp without them really even noticing. Because of how bad their outriders were, their scouts were, this almost allowed them to lose the Battle of the Green Fork and the Battle of the Camps and the Battle of the Whispering Wood. So already, Tywin's first real victory is not really a victory at all. And Tywin even sees it that way as well, because it was a feint and they lose River Run. But even in terms of the battle, it really wouldn't maybe have gone their way if things had gone differently. So that kind of gets us through a Game of Thrones. Let's get to a Clash of Kings then. So a Clash of Kings, Tywin does a lot of sitting around in Harrenhal, kind of waiting for Robb, and you can understand the strategy. But again, it doesn't work because Robb defeats Tywin again. Tywin underestimates Robb's ability as a tactician. Robb goes into the west, beats Sir Stafford Lannister, and he just starts raiding the west. Tywin himself starts to try and go back into the west, which means he has to cross and he has to attack the Tully forces at River Run. And once again, he loses this battle. Edmure is able to push back the Lannister forces, and that is another defeat. Tywin, at this point still of the war, has yet to actually have a real victory. So at this point then, Tywin basically meets up with the Tyrells. They then go to King's Landing, and they win the Battle of the Blackwater. Once again, this is completely lucky. It had nothing to do with Tywin himself. Tyrion and Littlefinger are the culprits of this plan. They talk about it right after Renly is killed by Stannis, more or less. They don't necessarily know that, but that's what they imply. And Littlefinger and Tyrion come up with the plan. Littlefinger is going to go to the Tyrells, try to get them married into the family, have Joffrey and Margaery marry, and that'll seal their alliance. None of that had anything to do with Tywin. In the show, they give Tywin more credit once again, because Littlefinger shows up at Harrenhal and they kind of discuss that stuff. Tywin gets more credit in the show, whereas in the book, Tywin just kind of shows up at the end and he gets all the glory, he gets the victory, when really none of it was his. It was all Tyrion's and Littlefinger's. So again, Tywin doesn't really do all that much that makes him like this genius, tactician or any of those things. And then even then, when we get to him ruling, he makes one good decision. Yes, get rid of the Starks, have the Red Wedding go out, all that kind of situation. It's a smart idea. I won't lie. It's a smart idea. You take out the Starks at the twins. Fine. But then Tywin does this whole thing where the Purple Wedding happens. He should obviously know it's not Tyrion, but yet he allows Tyrion to be the fall guy for it. So either one, Tywin knows that Tyrion did not do it and is willing to have his own son, who saved King's Landing, by the way, be killed or sent to the wall, or he doesn't know and he's an idiot. I'm sorry, if you're Tywin and you think Tyrion, who is as smart as he is, as clever as he is, killed Joffrey in that manner, you're just stupid. And I'm talking about people that specifically know Tyrion, not people that they assume Tyrion did it, but they don't know him that personally that well. You're just not thinking it through. And I don't know if that's hindsight. Maybe it is, because we know what's really going on in the story. Well, we still don't really know what's going on at the Purple Wedding. It's still not completely clear. That's why theories are allowed to happen. But it seems but we do know that Tyrion didn't do it. And it's you should kind of know it wasn't Tyrion. And that leads to Tywin's exact death. Getting to the trial, all those stuff, those are things because of Tywin. It really comes down to Tywin being a hypocrite. All the things that he detests in Tyrion are things that he does as well, like sleeping with Shae. Likely he had these tunnels built so where he could go to brothels and things of that nature. Tywin is a very sad individual person. And again, yes, he is a great, ruler during peacetime, but in terms of conflict, in terms of war, he's a horrible strategist. I mean, look at everything that goes on. He has vastly superior numbers to the Starks and the Tully forces combined. The Westerlands have some of the best resources in all of Westeros, most manpower, only really kind of behind the Tyrells, and they still almost managed to fumble a war against Robb, who has what? In terms of the battle he wins, the Battle of the Golden Tooth, the Crag, all that stuff, the Battle of the Camps, the Battle of the Whispering Wood, Robb was outnumbered, by a good amount in all of those battles. Tywin himself just sits there and lets it happen. So, let me know what you guys think. I feel like there's going to be pushback on this one as well. I don't think as much as the Catelyn one. I think the community has kind of started to, maybe not started to, but I think the more people are starting to realize that Tywin is not as great as people make him out to be in the books. But let me know what you guys all think, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye, guys.